She stood barefoot in the middle of a dusty roadside bar, her trembling hands clutching the corner of her torn shawl. The man she once called her husband was laughing as he waved a half-empty bottle of whiskey toward a group of leather-clad bikers. "Anyone got $50 for her?" he slurred. "She cooks, she cleans, hell, she don't talk back much either." Laughter filled the room, cruel and sharp, like shattered glass. But one man didn't laugh. He was taller than the rest, his beard graying at the edges, eyes hidden behind dark shades. The patch on his leather vest read Hell's Angels Redwood Chapter. He slowly stood up, placed his beer down, and said in a calm, deadly voice, "Put the bottle down." And that was the moment her life changed forever. Her name was Lena Mae Carter, a 29-year-old woman from a small desert town in New Mexico, a place where the sun baked dreams into dust and men drank them away. She had married Earl, her high school sweetheart, at just 19. Back then, he'd promised her a better life, told her she was the most beautiful thing in the world. But promises have a way of fading, especially when liquor takes their place. Years passed. Earl's job at the auto shop ended. The drinking got worse. The bruises got harder to explain. Lena stopped wearing bright clothes, she stopped singing while doing the laundry. It was like someone had dimmed her light slowly, cruelly, until only a faint spark remained. That night, Earl had dragged her to the bar to apologize after another one of his drunken fits. But it wasn't an apology. It was an auction. When the biker, Ryder was his name, stood up to face Earl, the air in the bar changed. He wasn't loud. He wasn't angry. He just had that kind of silence that demanded respect and fear. Ryder walked up to Earl and looked him dead in the eye. "You think a woman's worth a bottle?" he asked, his voice low. Earl smirked. "She's my wife. I can do what I..." Before he could finish, Ryder's fist connected with his jaw. Earl fell to the floor like a sack of sand. The bar went quiet. All you could hear was Lena's shaky breathing. Ryder turned to her, extended his hand, and said something she'd never heard from a man before. "Come on, darlin'. Let's get you out of here." For a moment, she didn't move. Her mind was screaming, what if he's worse? What if this is another trap? But something in his eyes made her trust him. She placed her trembling hand in his. That night, for the first time in years, Lena didn't cry herself to sleep. She didn't know where she was going. She just knew she was finally leaving. Ryder took her to a small cabin on the outskirts of town, a biker's rest stop owned by his club. It wasn't much, just a fire pit, 2 chairs, and the distant hum of the highway, but it was peace. Days passed before Lena spoke more than a few words. Ryder didn't push. He fixed bikes in the mornings, cooked simple meals, and left a spare helmet by the door each day. One morning, he looked at her and said, "You ever been on a bike?" She shook her head. "Then you should," he said. Freedom feels different when the wind's got your back. When she climbed on behind him, her hands shaking, the world felt huge again. The wind tangled her hair, her heartbeat matched the rhythm of the road, and for the first time since she was a girl, Lena laughed. Every mile they rode was another piece of her finding its way back. But Earl wasn't done. One evening, he showed up at the cabin drunk, furious, with 2 friends and a crowbar in hand. "You think you can steal my wife?" he shouted. Ryder didn't flinch. He stepped in front of Lena, calm as a storm about to break. "She's not your wife," Ryder said. "You sold her. And now she's free." Earl swung. Ryder dodged, grabbed his arm, and twisted it until the crowbar clanged on the ground. "Walk away, Earl," he warned. "Next time, I won't stop at words." Earl spat, but when he saw the Hell's Angels emblem glinting in the fading sunlight, he backed off. He knew what that patch meant. He left, stumbling into the dark, and he never came back. Weeks later, Lena stood beside Ryder at a charity ride the club held every year for abused women and children. She helped hand out food, shared quiet smiles with survivors, and when someone asked if she was with Ryder, he simply looked at her and said, "She's not with me. She's her own now." That night, she sat by the fire with him and whispered, Do you really think someone like me can start over? He smiled. Darlin', starting over's what the road's for. Rose ending message, narration for YouTube. Sometimes the people who break you teach you what you never want again. And sometimes the strangers who step in when you've lost everything remind you of your worth. Lena didn't just escape, she rebuilt. She opened a small roadside cafe for travelers, right where the desert meets the highway. Every biker who passed by saw a sign outside that read, "Freedom Cafe, home for the lost, coffee for the brave." And sometimes, on quiet evenings, a Hell's Angels rider would stop by, leave a rose on the counter, and ride away into the sunset. Because love doesn't always come to rescue you. Sometimes, it comes to remind you you were strong enough all along.